Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Today, we're going to have a conversation about really what is systems science, because a number of you have been asking about it, like what is it? I talk about it. So I thought I'd go make it simple, but go deeper into really talking about what is systems science. But I'm going to do it in the context of asking a question, which is it's a little bit not really meant to be derogatory, but really meant to hopefully awaken people. And the question is, are you a blind sheep? And you may be. Many of us who are relatively politically aware, we can call other people sheep. But the reality is we have to ask ourselves, are we blind? Are you a blind sheep? And you may be. And I want to do this in the context of really talking about what is system science. And system science, you're going to learn very shortly. We're going to go really deep into this using a parable that I've alluded to before, but we're going to go a little bit deeper to really helping people to understand that in the modern world of where we live in a world where it seems like every issue becomes hard for people to really grapple what the real problem is and what the real solution. It seems like people take sides, a left-wing side or a right-wing side or a pro side or an anti side, and the whole problem is never seen, or the real problem is never seen. So the opportunity with the science of systems is to really learn that. And in fact, what's happened over the years is that if you look at any time something new comes, or some body of knowledge or some innovation, it seems like there's almost a 30 to 60-year cycle before that body of knowledge gets out there. Now, the science of systems has been out there since probably the 1900s, 1920s. But my effort has been over the last 30, 40 years to try to make that science accessible. And I think we've done that. But having the knowledge of the science of systems helps, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child or whether you're a teenager, really start looking at the world as it is. And if we can do that, we basically put politicians out of business, you put lawyers out of business, you put experts out of business, and you become the expert. And you have the tools to really see things as they are, or otherwise, as I pose a question here, we may actually be blind sheep, where we're not seeing things as they are, and we get lost in this, what I call the dialectic, okay? Where we see things as left and right, as pro and anti. So we got some people saying, good to have people. We have people saying, live from Sacramento, good to have you. If someone says sheeples all around us, someone says, hi, Dr. Shiva, Philip in Revere. Great to have you, Philip. And love you, Dr. Shiva. Great. Thank you for your kind comments. So anyway, let's just start. And I hope you enjoy this conversation, because my goal is to really engage you to really recognize that the current educational system is really lagging behind where we are as a society in the world of complex systems. Okay? So let's really look at this, right? So the question is, are you a blind sheep? You may be, right? So this is what a sheep looks like. And it's bad enough being called a sheep, right? Because I don't think any one of us wants to be a sheep. And there's probably many of you who've called other people sheep, right? But worse than that, I think, is to be a blind sheep, right? Where you don't even know where you're going or where you're going at. You're following something, but it's being done even in a more worse way. So I think a blind sheep is probably worse than just a sheep. So the conversation I want to have is, I use the word systems, and the question is, what is a system, right? What are systems? So let's look at some of these systems, okay? And we talk about this in our course, The Foundations of Systems. Let me run our banner here, because to make sure we're doing our proper advertising, which I like to do, so everyone knows what we're actually pushing, which is to educate people. That's really what we want to push, if anything. But if you look at this over here, this is actually the back of a watch. And you can see the back of this watch has many, many parts to it. And the parts are all interconnected, right? So a watch is not just any one part. It has all these parts interconnected in the right way. And what then emerges is a system called a watch. So basically, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So a system, it's important to remember, is not just a bunch of parts, but it's the interconnection of those parts. So that's the back of a watch, okay? If you look at this diagram, what is this? Some of you may know, some of you may not know. If you've taken the class, you probably do know what this is. But this is actually millions of parts put together, and it's really a system. And this system is a space shuttle engine, right? And every part has to be in the right location. And when all those parts are in the right location, you get something that can lift off tons of matter off the ground and break the Earth's inertia to go into space. But if you think about, even if one of these parts is not connected right, it can blow up. And that's what happened when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up. There's something called the O-rings, and they were never properly tested for cold weather. And the solid rocket boosters, the seams bled and the space shuttle blew up. But it's really, again, about the interconnections, right? So all these parts have got to be put together at the right location. This is also a system, okay? So again, just to review, this is a system, this is a system, this is a system. This is, does anyone know what this is? Okay, this is actually a city, okay? A city is an interconnection of many, many subsystems, right? The buildings, the roads, the parks, the alleyways, right? All of these connected together in a way, what emerges is something called a city, right? Many, many different interconnections. You have city planners who build these systems. And based on how you connect the roads, you can have wealthy areas or poor areas, et cetera. But this too is a system. Here's another system at a more microscopic level, right? This is the cell. The cell is also a system. Many parts interconnected together, and you have 300 different cells in your body. Some cells are red blood cells, other cells are white blood cells, other blood cells, other cells are epithelial cells, endothelial cells. And what makes a cell different? Well, they all have a nucleus, they all have membranes, but it's how the particular molecular pathways emerge in these systems and how they're connected. So based on how you do the connection, you can get many different kinds of cells, okay? But again, this is a system. This is also a system, right? A transit system. So look at this. These are all different kinds of systems. You'd have to be a watchmaker to understand this, an aeronautical engineer, a city planner, a cell biologist, or a transportation person. All different kinds of systems. Another system, a healthcare system, okay? So the question is, I want to pose to you, how do you actually understand systems, right? Do you have to be a watchmaker to understand the watch? Do you have to be an aeronautical engineer? Do you have to be a city planner? Imagine if you could really look at the system as it is and have a way to do that. And then you could actually understand, oh, this system, this is the real problem in this system. Here's a real solution, which goes beyond left and right, right? So that would be the ideal way. And that's what I'm committed to teaching. That's why you have the little ticker running. So we've created a whole way that we train people all over the world to see things as they are. And we call it our Warrior Scholar program. You can go join it. But today, what I want to talk to you about is that we live in a world where we're not trained to look at the world as systems. Yet we live in this modern 21st century where everything around us is a system. Healthcare systems, election systems, immune systems, right? But if we don't have a way to look at these systems as they are, we're going to be misled. We're going to be fighting among each other. And so one way to look at systems is to really understand system science. So some of you ask me, what is the science of systems, Dr. Shiva? Well, the science of systems is a way where you can actually have the tools to really think about systems, okay? That's what system science is. The opposite of system science is to really look at the world from a reductionist way. And let me put that up, reductionism. So reductionism is the opposite of a systems thinking. So let's look at what reductionism looks like. And it's really it's a dumb way to look at the world. And those in power do not want us looking at the world in a systems way, because you're going to be able to be your own teacher, your own guru, your own solutions provider. You're going to see things as they are. And there is a way to look at the world as systems. But the opposite way is to look at the world in a blind way, and it's called the reductionist way, okay? And the best way to understand reductionism is through this very, very important story And by the way, this story goes back to about 1500 BC. It actually goes back to the Indian Vedas. It goes back to, in fact, a very ancient sage, Thirumalar, who was in India and who talked about, that you can be blind and you can see the elephant like blind men. And what he was referring to was that if you look at the elephant, it's a very complex system, right? It's got a tusk, it's got a tail, it's got the trunk, it's got legs. It's a whole system. You can look at it as parts, or you can look at it as a whole system. And the blinded way of looking at the elephant goes to the story that was told many, many years later, where a king brought 6 blind men, and they were all asked to see what they saw, right? Because saw meaning in double quotes. And this story tells it well. So here's the actual system. So consider the elephant being like the whole system, right? The watch, or the space shuttle, or the city, or the cell, the entire system, or the healthcare system, okay? But if you take a reductionist approach, what you see, you become the blind sheep. And in this case, we're looking at 6 blind men. So these 6 blind men were called in to look at this elephant, okay? Which is a whole system, okay? So one of the blind men looks at the ear, and he thinks the elephant is a fan, right? Because the elephant's ears move, and he's convinced the elephant, to him, the elephant is the fan. He doesn't see the whole system. He sees it as a fan, okay? The blind man who sees a tail thinks the elephant is a rope, okay? To him, he's convinced that the elephant is a rope. Again, a reductionist viewpoint. He does not see the entire elephant. He just sees the rope because that's what he feels. The blind man who bumps into the feet of the elephant thinks, oh, this is a tree. He thinks it's an oak tree, okay? All right. So the blind man who bumps into the side of the elephant, he thinks it's a wall, okay? He's convinced it's a wall because it's big. He thinks it's a wall. The blind man who touches the tusk thinks, oh, it's a spear, okay? And then the blind man who touches the trunk is convinced it's a snake. So you see what I'm saying? Each one is blinded, and they're just seeing parts of this large system. They have a blinded view of reality. And all of these guys arguing amongst each other, right? The guy who sees a tusk says, this is definitely a snake. The guy who touches a tusk says, it's a spear. And the guy argues with the other guy who says, this elephant is a tree. The other guy says it's a fan, a wall, and, a rope. You get the idea, right? So this is a non-systems approach. And this is what the left and the right do, right? They take every issue and they take a left-wing view or a right-wing view, and then they have working people taking a Democrat position, a Republican position, and people are fighting among each other. And as long as people fight, 2 things happen. Those in power maintain power. And more importantly, we never really address the root cause issues. We don't see the elephant. We don't see the space shuttle. We just see pieces of it, right? So I hope everything's clear here, okay? So we need to see things as they are. So if you go back to what I'm talking about here, so we don't see, what ends up happening is this is what you see, okay? You don't see the elephant, you see this, okay? So when all these blind guys get together, they're all arguing among each other, and they don't really see an elephant. What they see, in their view, is a oak tree, on top of which is a wall with 2 fans, 2 spears, a snake hanging off of it, and a rope. It's absolutely absurd, right? But this is what happens on even political issues, on major issues of our time. The news doesn't represent the whole system because they're not systems guys. The politicians don't study systems. The lawyers don't study systems. Engineers do, but engineers never get a voice. Working people do. Plumbers understand systems. Electricians understand systems. Mothers understand systems. But the people leading the narratives promote this to us, right? They don't promote the actual elephant, right? What they promote to us is this. And this is where the problem is, okay? All right. So how do we get beyond this? How do we see things as they are, beyond left and right? That's what we want, right? If we're serious, working people have the same interests. Those who actually have to solve problems see the same things, but those who don't have to solve problems never have to see the real issues. They just have to run for office, lie to people, get one people to be on the left side and other people to be on the right side, and the problems are never solved. And so this is a recurrent process of why nothing ever changes for working people. But if we want to see things as they are, and if we want to go beyond left and right, how do we do that? Okay. Well, we want to see the whole watch, not just the parts. We want to see the whole space shuttle's engine. We want to see the city for what it is, not just any one part of it. We want to see the entire cell, right? If we just focus on the nucleus or we just focus on the membrane, you never solve the real disease. We want to see the whole system. So how do we see things as they are, beyond left and right? And let me give some examples. We really want to go beyond pro or anti, right? Isn't that what we want? So how do we do that? Well, if you remember, if you take something like another system, if we look at really something like the healthcare system, right? Or this is another way of looking at the healthcare system, a very complex system. Most people don't have an opportunity to study the entire healthcare system. But if you take a systems approach, if you really have a chance, and many of you know that that's the approach we take in our movement, and that's the way that I'd like to present a lot of the knowledge in many of the past videos, but I want to educate all of you how to do that. But if you take a system approach to the healthcare system, what do you actually find? Well, you find that the real issue is that there's people called GPOs, group purchasing organizations, and pharmacy broker managers who are really the middlemen in this whole system. And that's the real issue, that they increase the cost. And you can go look at one of the videos I've talked about. But what I'm saying is when you take a systems approach, you find out this is the real problem. There's middlemen who increase the cost. And then you find out the real solution is to eliminate GPOs and PBMs, okay? Another system, which I've talked extensively about, done research about for my own campaign, the election systems, right? Very complex systems. What you find is a real problem is we have poor chain of custody. We have a flawed signature verification process, and there's actually no enforcement of laws. And the real solution is we need to ensure chain of custody from the time a ballot comes in. We need trained forensic document examiners who actually do signature verification, and we need to enforce existing laws, right? Real problem, real solution. Another system, the immune system. The immune system is a very complex system, but you find out that what's being promoted is, we really need to go beyond vax and anti-vax. We need to go beyond one-size-fits-all medicine. The real issue is the immune system is complex. We need to have the right medicine for the right person at the right time. We need to build community and to boost immunity. And these are the things that our movement spoke about, 2-3 years ago. We're the ones who talked about the real problem and the real solution. And then opportunists came later and they then try to make money off the whatever the issue was, but, too little, too late. So the point is, if we take a systems approach and we see the whole elephant as it is, if we see the whole system, we can always identify the real problem and the real solution. That is the power of the science of systems. This is why through every talk I do, I keep telling you guys, please take this systems course. Please take the systems course. I'm giving you a scholarship. It's not to benefit me, but I've realized that the only way that we can win this is to raise people's consciousness on every one of these problems, be it, the problem of, as I talk about, the immune system or the election systems or the healthcare systems. We need to understand what the real problem is and the real solution. We need to understand, again, what the real problem is and the real solution. Again, in the immune system, the real problem, the real solution. Now, if we can do that, and I can educate you to see things as they are beyond left and right, guess what? We don't really need to be worried about who's in office per se, because all of you will have the tools at the local level to really, for your own community, for yourself, to see things as they are, okay? And that's what the real goal is. And I want to play a video here because until we get to this, and I'll come shortly back because I want to really give how we get there, but this is a video I've played before, but this goes to the heart of the problem. So here's what it's really the video that really compels all of you to really understand why we need to do this. So let me play this video. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite, working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution, and that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training, because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people, Dave, to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to vashiva.com. And it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics. And I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. The Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, vashiva.com, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com. All right, so that video is meant to inspire you to recognize that this stuff can be applied at the political level too. But today, what I wanted to inspire you, again, to ask the question, are you a blind sheep? And you may be. But the way we remove our blindfold is to see things as they are, beyond left and right. And if each one of you can learn that, and then you can teach that, and you can serve by engaging others to do that, we have a winning formula to really awaken things. Ultimately, remember, a great man once said that the cause of all suffering is ignorance. And I would argue that in the modern world, that ignorance comes from a lack of understanding of systems, because we live in a world of systems. Those in power, who advise those in power, about 8,000 to 10,000 people, actually understand the science of systems. And my mission, if there is a grand mission here, is to be a catalyst to educate as many people as possible to get access to this knowledge, because that becomes a catalytic force where you become the agent of change. So the question really is, we want to see things as they are. So how do we do that? If you go to the website, you notice we have our movement for truth, freedom, and health. But the key thing, as that video just said, is we want to do this interconnection where, from even a political perspective or social perspective, we interconnect the movements for freedom, or a desire to have freedom, right? So today, you typically have the people who are maybe the people who some people call, quote unquote, rednecks, who want the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and those people are in the freedom fight or political. Then you have the nerds who are into innovation and science and in the truth world, right? And they're fighting for that. And then you have the yoga people, or the people who want organic food and no GMOs. They're in the health world. And those three movements, those three elements are typically separated. And the reality is, it's never going to work for any one of those movements unless they recognize that, first, you need to recognize that we do need to do real science, right? But real science, truth, cannot emerge without freedom, open discourse. We have open exchange of information. This is why censorship is so bad, right? So freedom and truth are intimately connected. But you also recognize that without the infrastructure of your personal health, economic health, financial health, you don't have the strength to even have the wherewithal to fight for freedom or to explore truth. So truth, freedom, and health are intimately connected. Now, that is a systems understanding. And in the teachings that we have, you find out that element of truth, freedom, and health, the movement of information, matter and energy, freedom, the conversion of ideas into find reality, truth, the scientific method, and health, which is the infrastructure which supports all this, are intimately connected. In fact, these three concepts go back to the concept of transport, conversion, and storage that comes from general systems theory, or in the Indian systems of medicine, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Bottom line is that the curricula that has taken me years to develop, the foundations of systems, is frankly, the only curriculum that I can think of in the world that brings us together. I've taught this all over the world, but my goal was to make this accessible. So without really pushing you guys into doing this, what I can say is that I don't know of any curriculum out there that does this, or any movement. So that's why I push this so hard, because from someone who's committed to wanting to create a better world, without this elevation of knowledge, without the understanding of systems, we're never going to really have a significant change. So my intention was, how do you take this knowledge, make it accessible? How do you make it accessible to all of you, economically accessible, where you value it? When we were trying to give away this course, no one valued it. So we said, okay, we can't charge $2,500, $2,600 when I used to charge for it out of MIT, et cetera. So we said, okay, we're going to give you a scholarship, because then maybe you'll value the scholarship. So for $100, we've made it accessible. But more recently, we said, look, it's not only adults who need to take this. We need to make this course accessible to all people, young kids. students under the age of 18. So if you take the course, here's the incentive. You take the course, you learn, then you have the opportunity to serve by, you can be a philanthropist and give away this course to everyone. Let me repeat that. I want all of you to take this. But then once you take the course and you pass it, you can give it away to any student below the age of 18, absolutely free. You can give it to one child, or you can give it to 1 million children. So what we're doing now is we're building a movement now, a movement of consciousness, where we're training people, giving them the tools so they don't need to go to MIT, or they don't need to get into an elite institution. I've made this course, whether you're a plumber, an electrician, whether you're a mother, whether you're a barber, anyone without any prerequisites can learn the science of systems. And when we take this approach, we really can see the world the way it is. And you can be a force for significant change. As a part of this, what I've recently done is, this is a wonderful book that it took me many, many years to write, but I think we've sold 20, 30,000 copies of this. So we said, let's also make this book free. So anyone gets it for free, just cover shipping and handling, but it'll give you the essential concepts, okay? But why do I want to do this? Because the reason I want to do this is, again, if you're joining, is if you look at these systems, right? These are all very complex systems. A watch, right? The space shuttle engine, the city, the cell, all systems, transportation systems. What you will learn is that regardless of what kind of system you're looking at, when you take this course, you'll find out that all of these systems have 5 common principles across all of these systems. So you don't have to be an electrical engineer. You don't have to be an aeronautical engineer. You don't have to be a city planner. You're going to learn at a very deep level the common principles across all these systems. Then you're going to understand that there are these 5 common principles, but then intelligent systems have 4 common principles. So you're going to learn the 9 principles of intelligent systems, the 4 among that are unique to intelligent systems, and the 5 that are unique to all systems. But what this will do is, it's going to give you the language, the knowledge to really understand all systems in the universe. Very powerful knowledge. And using this, you can see things as they are, beyond left and right. But most importantly, you're going to learn to think beyond left and right, right? So it's going to challenge you, right? So it's going to force you, perhaps, well, I'm a Republican. Well, maybe Republicans look at the world the wrong way. I'm a Democrat. Well, maybe the Democrats look at the way they don't see. They're like the blind men, the Republicans and Democrats. They only see pieces of the elephant. They don't see the whole. So we want to really recognize that in the 21st century, we need to learn to think beyond left or right. Because if we don't, we're going to be in one camp or another camp, and we don't see the whole. And that's really the essence of this. And in order to do this, what I've done is not only create the knowledge, a curriculum you can learn on your own, we've also created a community where you can meet all sorts of people all over the globe. But I've also created a laboratory where you can understand how your body is a system. You can get on the ground and interact with other people. So it's a living, breathing, experiential environment where you learn this. You can come to the videos I do. And if you notice, I keep hammering away, and we need to learn the world as a system. Yeah, someone, great point. Michael Ryan says, learn to think beyond the Hegelian dialectic. Exactly. So we say that, but people don't have the tools. So now you actually have the tools to learn how to think beyond left and right. And that's really my intention. And if we can do that, we're going to create a better world. And whether you want to create a better world or not, you're going to create a world that you can really be the captain of your own destiny. You can understand things as they are. You can educate. And as we say in our movement, we want people to learn, teach, and serve. And that's the environment we've created. So I hope all of you can see right on the bottom, go to vashiva.com/join, become a truth, freedom, and health warrior, become part of this community, but most importantly, learn the science of systems to see things as they are. And let me play this last video, which will really give you, in a very short sort of an ad, which will, better than I could do, really tells you all the things you get, because it's not just the educational piece, it's not just the research, but it's about building a community. Anyway, I hope today's talk really teaches you what is the science of systems. And this is how we, if you're attacking people for being the sheep, just be aware that you could be a blind sheep where you're not really seeing the whole. So let me play this video and I'll come right back. Hello, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Welcome to VA Shiva, the platform of education, technology, and activism, so you may raise your consciousness to win the truth, freedom, and health you need to create the future you deserve. The VA Shiva platform provides its truth, freedom, health warrior scholars the following 3 capabilities. Number 1, an ultimate education that is based on the science of systems. Number 2, technologies to empower you to take charge of your health, as well as social media tools, independent of big tech, so you can connect with other incredible truth, freedom, health warrior scholars equally dedicated like you to winning truth, freedom, and health. 3, instruments for activism, so you become a beacon of light in your online and offline community to educate others' growth and advancement. VA Shiva provides you the foundations of the science of systems, the ultimate education. The science of systems provides you the missing fundamental scientific knowledge to understand every system in and around you. The science of systems will enable you to uncover the real problem and real solution in any situation and on any issue. Concerning the educational component, first you will receive direct access to me to learn the science of systems in my 3-hour live private online group class that I run every week. Second, you will have access to archived lectures so you can continue your education independent of me. Third, you can test your proficiency in learning the fundamental principles and get a formal certification for the foundations of systems. Independent of this classroom education, you will receive also 4 important books. The first book is the best-selling classic Systems and Revolution, from which you can learn all of these concepts and more. The second book is The Science of Everything, that will educate you on how the science of systems is the foundational knowledge of every system in the universe. The third book, Your Body, Your System, focuses on how to understand the interplay of these systems within your own body. And then the fourth book, Your System, Your Life, will help you apply these principles to other aspects of your life, such as running a business, understanding relationships, and more. Beyond the curriculum and books, the second capability is the technologies that you will be afforded. One of them is a powerful Your Body, Your System software, which is an online laboratory where you can use your body as a system to further deepen your understanding of the science of systems. The tool allows you to understand what kind of system you are. Is your system on course or is it off course? And how the inputs of food, supplements, herbs, activities such as sleep, yoga, meditation, exercise can affect your body to bring it back on course. Finally, to support your education, I've also included a seminal scientific paper that I wrote, which will help you understand that the knowledge of systems, it does not only originate in the modern world starting in the 1920s and 30s, but it actually dates back 10 to 20,000 years and intersects directly with the foundations of Eastern systems of medicine. In addition to this, you will also get 2 scientific papers sharing how the science of systems can also be used to apply to understanding how food is medicine. One paper exposes turmeric from the molecular systems level and how it affects your body. The other paper explores ginger and how that affects your body. That's just the educational piece. As you raise your consciousness through this education, you will likely want to connect with other truth, freedom, health warrior scholars in an environment where you can connect and build community. To support that, I've also created 2 powerful social media tools. One of them is a VA Shiva forum. Here you can start discussions, you can pose questions and meet others and have healthy debates. The other is VA Shiva Social, where you can create your own profile, your own presence, like other major social media tools. However, it is independent of big tech. You can use VA Shiva Social to interconnect with your fellow truth, freedom, health warrior scholars and build community. Beyond the education capability and the social media capability, the platform also enables you to take action by disseminating your knowledge on the ground and into your local online and offline communities. Powerful educational cards and research are included so you can pass these cards to your friends and neighbors that provide them summarized content which further directs them to online research and education. In addition to this, the activism component also provides you many short 1-minute educational video content, memes, and text, allowing you to quickly craft messages for your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other pages so you can deliver content to educate others and drive them to longer educational posts on VA Shiva. VA Shiva is fundamentally an enabling platform for you to get the truth, freedom, and health you deserve through education, technology, and activism. I hope you become a truth, freedom, and health warrior scholar today. Thank you. Anyway, I hope that video was helpful. So it gives you sort of the range of things that we put together. But again, today's talk was really to answer the question someone had asked, what is the science of systems? And I put it in this context of, in summary, sharing the story of the 6 blind men looking at the elephant, going through it in very detail, and why, if we don't take a systems approach, we will be ripped apart as a society. And that does not serve everyday people. So if you look at the issues that are going on right now, the Ukraine war, the issues with elections, the elections themselves, who do you vote for, et cetera, the issue with free speech, and you go down all the major issues that are going on. If we don't have a systems approach, we will not see the whole system as it is. We'll see pieces of it, and CNN will present one piece, Fox News will present another piece, and somebody else will present another piece, and some influencer on YouTube, Joe Rogan, will present another piece. And all these fragmented perspectives and never seeing the whole, it does not serve you or I. And so we live in a world, as I mentioned, it is a world of complex systems. Every system around us is a complex system. This phone is a complex system. It's not just in the old days, one little, telephone wired to, another system. This phone is connected to the internet. It's connected to, it has apps which communicate among each other. The cars that are emerging, the driverless cars are interconnected to systems. Everything around us is a complex system, healthcare systems, transportation systems, et cetera. And if we want to really keep those people we elect to office accountable, we have to have the tools to understand systems. The problem is the science of systems today is only accessible to very, very few people in the hallowed halls of elite academia. And what we've done here is to make that concepts, the course, the ability for you to learn it accessible. And that is how we change the world. The world is not going to change if the level of consciousness of people is here and we're expecting leaders at this level. Let me repeat that again. The world is not going to change if the state of consciousness of people is here and we're expecting to get leaders at this level. The world is going to change when we raise the consciousness of enough people. And in the modern world, that consciousness raising, removing the veil of ignorance, is only going to occur if we understand the science of systems, because we live in a world of very complex systems. The good news is we've put that curriculum together. We've created a community for you, and we've created activities that you can do to experientially be part of that. So I hope this was valuable, that it answers the question, what is a system? What are the science of systems? And you get inspired to take advantage of this incredible platform we put together, and that you become your own guru, quote unquote guru. You're able to teach others and serve. So thank you, everyone. And also, I just want to remind you that we have a whole community, today, John's doing an open house orientation. We have Heather and Crystal, other people in our team, which run meetings. We do activities. So you don't have to feel isolated. Part of the world that it's becoming is, particularly in the developed nations, people are very, very isolated. When I went to India, you don't have a lot of depression or people with, frankly, depression issues over there, because you have tons of people around you. Maybe it's a poorer country, but you also always have family and friends and tons of people. When I flew back to America, the first thing I noticed, you're driving down and there's actually no one on the streets. Everyone lives in their little holes behind their computers, and we don't have community anymore. So one of the things we're doing is we're building consciousness, but we're also building community. So please recognize it's really, really important to have community and others, and that's the way you grow. It's mentally healing. So take advantage of this. So please go to vashiva.com/join, become a part of this movement, which will really help elevate your consciousness and teach you the science of systems so you won't be a blind sheep. Thank you. Be well.